team brought those to life and still made them feel very similar from the DRC to season?
Yeah, I think there was definitely a conscious decision by me that I couldn't stray too far from what happened in season 1, but at the same time I felt like from when I joined the show, my involvement, I was looking at how I could make a difference, make a change, or make a kind of a positive, creative input. And definitely the channeling was one area for me that I wanted to concentrate on because it's such an important magic system, very important to the books. And so because of that, it's kind of the first thing I ever looked at. And so I did a lot of research into it. And it seemed very apparent, judging by fan feedback, the colours are a big deal. So that was kind of one of my main aims. And so that I would discuss that further with Rafe. And we stayed very true to the book with regards what colour represents which element. And then taking an idea, it was actually on a train journey from Berlin up to Hamburg, and was working on another project where I knew it was during Wheel of Time. So I was researching what channeling could be, and I tend to look at things like art and photography and science and things like this. And that's when I came across a photographic technique called light painting. And it had a very, very thread-like quality to it. And I was quite literal to how it is in the books, with from that threads of one power. And it was just something that really drew me into how this looked. And especially the kind of vibrancy and the light emission or colours from it, it felt like a kind of facile channeling. And so the design of the 1 hour at itself is based very strongly on that.
So coming into this season, coming into this show, based off of the material, there's going to be a lot of effects that are going to come into play. Did you have a particular favorite scene throughout this season?
Favorite scene? Yeah, it's actually, I think just as a general season, the Egwene storyline's been quite intriguing for a lot of people. And one of my favorite scenes, if not the favorite scene, is actually quite a contained one in episode 7, which is Egwene in the Damane training grounds, where she almost has this kind of, I want to say kind of watershed moment where you see her channeling actually goes from Aes Sedai sort of organic flow around it, goes to this more rigid light formation. Her style, essentially, her form of Damane channeling, whereas all the others have these kind of cages of channeling go around their arms, representing obviously how they are essentially chaining themselves and in prisons. But with Egwene, her channeling style is just very much based on using her body after her season 1 experiences of she had a nice time with her hands got off. So in that regard, I had to look at how I could adapt the channeling to give the Damane look with Egwene's style. And for that one, it was kind of rigid, lots form of channeling around her body. And there's one particular shot in 207 when she does her Damane training ground scene where you see it actually form and morph and come into this rigid system. And then for me, it's all about kind of, it's Egwene essentially showing them what she's capable of. I like that attitude in her character at that point. And the Damane, the air blast that she does, the effect of it I quite enjoyed, and how obviously it knocks everyone over and things like this. It's that little moment, I think, just because of the effects, the moment, this kind of resilience from Egwene. So I think that's probably my favourite scene.
Now, in the books, Rand revealing himself as the Dragon of the Wire is a huge turning point, and obviously it has the same effect in the show. What kind of challenges went into doing that scene and making sure that you both captured, the spectacle of it from the source material and then translating that into visual?
Are you talking in reference to the dragon?
The dragon?
Yeah. We've obviously gone quite literal again with the dragon battered across the sky. Have been a representation channeled by Moraine. And the design for the dragon itself is very strongly based on the description in the books of the dragon banner. So if you look closely, it's sort of very strongly based on a Chinese dragon design, the long being body, got the white eyes, and then also you'll notice I was interested about the mane of fire. That felt I couldn't really introduce it when he was swirling around the tower and comes up and lands. So with a lot of dragons, obviously when they roar, they breathe out fire. And for me, that felt a little odd with a fire dragon and it's breathing fire as well. So I took the decision that when it roars, you have this mane of fire appear around the dragon itself. So every time it roars, you'll see this kind of puffs out with flame. So in most circumstances, when I'm given a creative challenge on the show, I'll always go to the books. And from there, I evaluate whether that's visually interesting enough or whether there's something we maybe need to tweak and develop at.
Now, how do you approach balancing practical effects with CGI to maintain a sense of the realism in the fantasy world?
It all comes down to conversations we have quite early on in the process. When we go through the scripts and we've got the other heads of department there and art department, systems, hair and makeup, special effects. And from there you kind of work out who's going to do what. I think Rafe's got a very similar outlook to me where you want to try and get a practical, physical representation of something in the shot. In most cases, this might be a set. So like with Kyrene, we had the 4-gate area built and 4-gate wall, and then beyond that, we're then putting in the towers, the families, and we expand out from there. And it was the same with film as well. We're always trying to find something physical that exists as a set or a location or something gets built, and then we digitally extend off of that. And for me, that's where visual effects is at its most successful, where we're working with other departments, we're working with things that are being played, because it allows us to do a more kind of seamless approach to it. And I think there's lots of occasions during the show people won't know things are CG because we've had all this other kind of departments we've been able to work with. One example being the seals at the cold opening at the start of episode 1. All of those were CG, and it's I think kind of one of my favourite parts of your job is the fact you get to collaborate with all the other departments, and it certainly pays off in the final image for me when we do that.
So it seems like season 3 is heading into a more darker and dangerous feel to it, with all of the Dark Friends being released. What can we expect with like those visuals, knowing that their power levels are much bigger and much more powerful than what we've seen from the Ice and Ice so far?
Are you fishing for season 3? Can I say
if there's anything you can give us, yes.
I would say I probably can't say much about it. I mean, a bit, obviously from my perspective, I want to build on what we've achieved. One such example being like the channeling. There's an evolution almost of the channeling going through the show where we've got the way it forms and flows around people is kind of similar to season 1. And then by the time we've got to episode 8, we've got Moraine on the beach. It's got a lot more organic feel to it. We've got more flows and twists. And there was a conscious decision to try and just shape it, move it in that direction slowly through the season. Because then I think it's easier to accept. And we got to a point with the channeling into episode 8 where I was really happy with it, and I want to carry that across. So I definitely want to carry across a lot of the good components that we did in season 2 and essentially build on it. You have a lot of opportunity to do that in season 3 without me going any further.
It's okay.
No, but I'm really excited by what's going to happen. And as you say, we've got some Forsaken reveal. See Natasha as Lanfear. Seemed to go down extremely well, and she was fantastic in her role with this kind of confidence, arrogance she had with her. And now we've got Gideon as well, I think, who kind of really sort of interested everyone at the end of episode 8. And Leia Prosser, who plays Gideon, she's a fantastic actress, and she's extremely playful with the role, even in that short moment. So I think it'll be really fun to see those different characters of those Forsaken, how they appear.
Coming into this, we know that there have been a lot of great effects throughout the series, a lot of impressive visuals. I'm curious, when you're, let me back up a little bit. There's been a lot of headlines about VFX workers being worked very hard over the past couple of years, in a short amount of time that you guys have to turn around impressive visuals. Has there been any moment throughout the season where you're reading what you have to do and you're like, oh my gosh, was there any particular scene that was very difficult or challenging that you thought, I don't know how we're going to do this?
I think it's a Wheel of Time is a big show, so lots of time. I mean, probably the biggest challenge for me is actually pronouncing names. That show, because depending on place names and the names of people, is probably one of the biggest challenges. But apart from that, I came into it. I think if you realise the material and the shows that you're dealing with, it kind of becomes less of a surprise in a way. You just sort of prepare yourself for the biggest, most complicated thing this could be thrown up at you. I think, when you're talking about dragons appearing and then the digital extensions that we're doing of found, things like this, those are kind of the ones that always demand the most work, the ones where we do full CG shots. And there are some scattered throughout the season. Those are especially the most challenging shots, because it can sometimes be going from real world photography to a full CG shot, and so you have to work so hard to try and make that believable. It's that's probably the biggest challenge, I think, when we have those moments. Tar Valor in one location is pretty much all full CG every time they show it, especially kind of from the exterior. And Tar Valor is so important, so we put lots of time and effort into that with developing the tower itself and showing this really beautiful, delicate, intricate stonework. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything particularly intimidating me. I think the name of the show, the material, the fan base, I think makes you realise what you're going to go into almost straight away.
That was the right answers.
One word for caption.
Go ahead.
The Wheel of Time has a rich and diverse works. How do you work to ensure that the visual effect reflected the different cultures and region in the story?
We're quite lucky in the fact that when I spoke about us, where we work with other departments within show, and it's very much it's kind of a team ethic. I'm able to pull designs and inspirations from a lot of the other departments. Andre, production designer, obviously he comes from a theatre background, so looks at his designs and things. Got Sharon Gillen, who's obviously the costume designer. She's certain kind of designs and elements in her costume. So for me, there's loads of different areas I can pull from to work on the designs for the visual effects and keep a continuity within the design itself. I would probably say the only thing that was unique for us is probably the channeling and the dragging of that purely VFX. And then it's on me, as I said, I'd spent a lot of time kind of looking at what I thought would look visually interesting when it came to it. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right, thank you.